These are a couple quick videos to finish out 12.3. And this example is one that I did with you when we were in class on Friday. Example 6. In example 6 is graph y equals 2x minus 1 over x minus 2. Now this whole chapter is about dividing polynomials, and so what this is essentially is a two-step problem. We're being asked to graph. I'll just put that up here. But before you graph, you have to do your division, and we're going to do this division the same way we did all the others. We're going to put 2x minus 1 here and x minus 2 here. And we're going to divide it the way we've been doing all along. X times what is 2x? That's 2. 2 times x minus 2 is 2x minus 4. I'm going to grab my red marker because I'm subtracting, so I have to change my signs. And when I do change all my signs, I end up with 0 here and a remainder of just here. When I add this up here, 2 plus a remainder of 3 over x minus 2. So that's my first step. When I'm told to graph this, my first step is to do the division. Whoops, I should have really circled the whole thing. So let me rewrite. I now have 2 plus 3 over x minus 2. But I'm going to rewrite it because I've just taken this portion, so there's really a y equal portion here. But I'm going to rewrite it with this portion in front. Y equals 3 over x minus 2 plus 2. And I can see that it's in the form y equals a over x minus h plus k. And so I can graph it. And looking at it right here, I can see that my first asymptote, right, which causes my graph to go up and down, my rational function to go up and down, is 2. And my second one here, my h, is also 2. So I can see these are going to be my asymptotes. And so I'm going to do my graph, and I'm going to tilt it slightly towards more positive values. And I'm going to have x equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I'm going to do my graph. I know that I've got asymptotes at I'm raising my graph by 2. That's what this k value here is telling me. So when I'm raising it by 2, this is actually my horizontal asymptote, right? It's saying I'm taking it from here to here. And then my vertical asymptote that is going to move it from here to here, side to side, is at x equals 2. Okay, so I know that my graph, and again, I'm doing what I did at the very end of lecture on Friday, but in case it was too quick or you need to see it again, I wanted to have it here. And I'll do my graph in blue now that I have my asymptotes. So I can actually, and I'm going to try in my fraction to get things that are not going to be too difficult to graph. So either on the half or on the whole number is usually best. So I know that if I put in 1 for x, I'm going to get 1 minus 2 is -1. 3 divided by -1 is -3, plus 2 is -1. So I'm going to get 1, -1. I know that I can also put in a -1, and if I do that, I get -3 on the bottom. 3 divided by -3 is -1 plus 2 is +1. So -1, +1, I am here. And I guess I'm just going to have to get a point in the middle, so I am going to put in 0 just to get the rest of that branch. When I put in 0, I get 3 over -2, so -1.5 plus 2 is just going to give me a +1/2. So 0 and +1/2, and so here is my branch. I'm trying not to draw in all the numbers because they can really crowd the graph, but I'll put in at least every other 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, -2, -4, -2, -4. I'm going to do my second branch, and so for my second branch I realize I really should try to get numbers greater than 2. Since 2 is my asymptote, I can't put in a 2 because I get an undefined value, so I'll try 3. 3 divided by 3 minus 2, so 3 divided by 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So if x is 3, y is 5. And I'm also going to try in a 5 in here for x, because if I put in a 5, I'll get a 3 on the bottom. 5 minus 2 is 3, 3 divided by 3 is 1, 1 plus 2 is 3. So if x is 5, y is 3. And again, I realize I'm going to need an intermediate point to finish my curve. So for that, I'm going to select, looks like the best thing to do is put in, let's see, I've already done 3, so 2.5. I put in 2.5, I get 2.5 minus 2 is 1/2. 3 divided by 1/2 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. So I have to go actually all the way up here. I didn't get my curve, which really should be 3.5. Let's see, so if I put a 3.5 minus 2, 1, so 3.5 is really 5/2, minus 4/2 is 1/2. That's, let's see, let's do it this way. 3.5, 3 and 1/2, 6, 7/2, sorry. 7/2 minus 2, which is 4/2, plus 2. I'm just trying to get my equation correctly. I was doing 2 in my head, and it's really better to write it down. 7/2 minus 4/2 is 3/2 is 3 divided by 3/2 plus 2. Dividing by 3/2 is the same as multiplying by 2/3. So 6 times 2 is 3 times 2 is 6, divided by 3 is 2, equals 4. So if I put in 3.5, and I've run out of space, I'll just put 3.5, I'll get 4. So 3.5 and 4, and now I've added a little bit of my curve, and I can really draw my branch. Okay, so that is what you need to do when you're given a problem that says you're supposed to graph. You have to do this in 2 steps. First, you divide, and second, you graph. You can't do this all at once. You have to divide it into 2 steps.